In this first lesson, we'll look at importing the FBX file from Revit into Maya. To import an FBX, we'll choose File, Import. And we'll browse to the Scenes folder, and there's the FBX exported. We'll import this in. We can see it's importing the objects and naming fairly long names, and one minor error, an unsupported camera focal length, which is fine. We can deal with that. That's the Revit camera. And now we don't see anything. If we hit F to focus, there's actually our scene as it comes in from Revit. There's some neat things and some not so neat things we need to take care of. It does a very good job of keeping the scale consistent. So everything in here is actually the right size and the same place as it is. So if we need to go back and forth, things will match up correctly. However, every separate Revit object gets its own name and its own material. And in this case, if we look at the name and the shape node for this object, as I stretch out my attribute editor here, it is rather long. Basic, FBX, wall, etc., 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 etc. What we'll want to do is go through and clean this up a little bit. I'm hitting Control-A to go between the channel box and the attribute editor. I'll want to go through and clean up a little bit. Maybe taking the main walls here, that will be all kind of one material, and combining them by choosing Mesh, Combine, and then deleting the history. Edit, Delete by Type, History. And now I can take this one object and name it Existing Brick Wall. I'll want to go through and do this through my entire scene, picking objects that probably should be better off as one object and combining them and renaming. If we look in the outliner under Window, Outliner, we can see that it's filled with these huge names. And although we can go through and kind of sort it out, it becomes fairly cumbersome because we're getting into easily 100 characters, and we'd like to slim this down a little bit. So I'll go through and rename and also clear out the materials. And one of the things I do, if we look at materials here as an example, right-clicking and choosing Assigning Existing, we have a few materials. Every unique object gets its own material. We end up with a lot of stuff. What I will typically do in here is select all the imported objects and assign them either an existing material like Lambert 1 or a new material. Just a Lambert will work fine for now. By right-clicking and choosing Assign Existing Material, and somewhere way up here might be Lambert 1, and I can't even find it. So I'm going to assign a new material, and in my Assign New Material, I will choose Lambert. And now in the Hypershade, going to Window, Rendering Editor's Hypershade, I want to choose Edit, Delete Unused Nodes. And all those Phong materials will vanish, and I'm left with just a couple Lamberts and a particle and things. So what I want to do then first is really take the scene and work it over for organization in Maya. Renaming objects, combining objects, such as existing walls, or here, let's do the other building. Mesh, Combine. Renaming this, we'll call this Existing Building 02. And deleting history. Edit, Delete by Type, History, or Shift-Alt-D. And I'll go through and do this, so instead of several dozen objects, or maybe quite a few, I end up with not many because things are combined and elegantly optimized for finding them easily. All the existing buildings will be named, all of the bench pieces, the canopy pieces, the windows, and so on, and ready for textures and materials and construction of our gabion wall and decking and import of other pieces.